definitely launched a product where you had to go educate your consumers. And then obviously you've obviously proven all of us that you can do this correctly. 20,000 retail stores. You hit $100 million valuation today. I think it's probably relatively low based off where you guys are going in the future.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the capital raising you've done to get to this valuation and get you guys to scale. Who are some of the people that you partnered with, if you're allowed to share that?
Yeah. 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 I mean, first 2 years of the business, we completely bootstrapped, right? It was like, me and Kent pulling our funds together. Our parents, friends, and family kind of helped get us to that first 2 year mark, but um, it wasn't pretty. Like, I was working full time at Hulu. Kent was working at Sony Music, and our first R&D run was like I think like $30,000, and we raised like 30 plus thousand on Indiegogo to cover that. And so we learned the entire business from the bottom up, because we had the first 4,000 pounds of gum shipped to Kent's apartment, and we shipped a year's worth of product from Kent's apartment. So we understood the fulfillment side of things. We understood customer service, because the customer service phone number was Kent's cell phone number. Like,
Love that.
and it was just like we did everything, we did every role possible, so we understood when we were building the team like how difficult it is. And I think customer service is one of those things where it's so difficult, because it's like you're dealing with customers who want the product today, and you want customers that have a million questions about the product, and rightfully so. They want to know exactly what's in it, because they've never tried it before. So we learned that process, and then 2 years in, we got an investment from BAM. Um, the founder was Brian Lee, who started LegalZoom. He started Honest Company with Jessica Alba, Shoe Dazzle with Kim Kardashian. He's like, one of the most epic serial entrepreneurs. So shout out to Brian. He was our first check, and Katie Sue, who is now an executive in marketing, and we worked together at Hulu. And then, we kind of got a lot of like small angel checks from like year 2 to year 7. And that's like Kevin Lin, the co-founder of Twitch, Jared Smith, the co-founder of RX Bar, James Brennan, the co-founder of Suja. Like, we had all these, Apollo Ono, Steve Aoki. We've had all these epic investors, but we raised barely, I think, 1.5 million in the first 7 years of the business. So we were very
Wow.
bootstrapped. And it was only like about 2.5, 3 years ago when we raised like an actual strategic round from like a Fortune 50 company. And that's really where things started to take off. And or take off, like things were already growing, but it was like, okay, now we have the confidence that if we raise a larger round, how to deploy that capital. So the first 8 years of the business, it was, first seven and a half years of the business, we only raised 1.5, 1.6 million total. And it was, would I do that again? Like, maybe, and if I were to tell the young me and Kent, our younger selves, maybe it would have been better to raise a little bit of money earlier, because I think we tried to do too much with too little in the beginning. But on the flip side, like, it taught us how to be scrappy and lean, and think of like, okay, like, let's not waste resources. So there's a balance between like, speed to market, and you capital helps you make, one, capital gives you optionality, but it affords you the ability to make more mistakes and learn quickly.
As you understand valuation in your early stages of building this company, right? Your
We
first,
didn't.
yeah, exactly.
I
Like
don't think we did. Yeah,
that's where a lot of people
we
get it
didn't.
wrong, right? And especially if this is maybe your first time founder and you left Hulu to come build this, you're raising $1.5 million. People will say, "Hey, I mean, Ryan, you have nothing here, just a pack of gum. You're not worth much." And then maybe you gave away 20, 30, 40% of the time. Who knows, right? And
Yeah,
with that, that can cause
we did it
you.
in tranches. So the first 200,000 we raised, 2 years into the business, and then we didn't raise the other 1.3 million all at once. It was like in different tranches at different valuations. So we were able to preserve the cap table very well. And I think Kent and I did, in that sense. We have a very, very, very clean cap table, all things considered, given it's been a 10-year journey. And so, like, for us, like I said, we only raised 200,000 that first in that after year 2. And I think for me, my advice to founders is like, don't raise too little, because then like you're going to have to spend more time fundraising, but raise right just enough to where you think you're going to get to the next milestone. And I've seen a lot of CPG brands in the last 10 years raise too much capital. So I've been seeing, CPG brands, I'm not going to name anybody, but like raising 30, 40, $50 million on a crazy valuation, but they couldn't like deploy that capital, because they were just like, it was, markets were ripe. This was before COVID. even during COVID, like, so valuations are sky high. So people are raising a lot of capital, and interest rates were effectively zero, right? So people were getting a lot of free money, but then like they didn't have the product distribution yet. They were just like buying their way through distribution or buying their way through acquisition. So I'm glad that we raised the capital that we did. And all in all, like, we raised less, like around $10 million total, right, to get to where we are today. And I've seen companies do it with far less, but then I've seen a lot of companies raise a lot more money that aren't around anymore. So just because you can raise money, it doesn't mean that you have to or you should. I think it's being selective in who your investors are and picking the right people that are going to go to bat for you.